Woodward Sports, the Art of Combat podcast. What's going on? It's Art, joined with Broadwell and former UFC lightweight champ and now chasing after the Bantamweight title, UFC's own Frankie Edgar. How are you, Frankie?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us. We got a lot to discuss, so let's get right to it. Talking to fighters in Florida and other areas where, the COVID restrictions aren't so enforced. Obviously, you're, a New Jersey native and in the New York area and the East Coast. How has training been during this pandemic? Any major changes, or has it kind of been, same old song and dance?
Yeah, it's business as usual here. We have a pretty close-knit, small team anyway. So, our practices aren't that big, and all the facilities have been able to operate and pretty much along a normal schedule. So, early on, maybe in April or March, things were a little hard to figure out, but since then it's been pretty custom.
Yeah, and obviously you had that major fight with Pedro Munoz, making your bantamweight debut, and really it showcased not only that you can go 5 strong rounds in a new division, but those veteran skills. Talk about that a little bit. I mean, obviously Munoz isn't a UFC newcomer by any means, but you really put on a spectacular performance.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, with the grit that comes with being in the UFC for 14 years and experience, I'm able to utilize that in some of my fights, and I think that definitely, that grit and that toughness kind of especially in that 5th round, made a difference.
Frankie, but my math isn't great, but it looks like you've had 27 fights in the UFC, and out of those 27, you've had either performance of the night, fight of the night, or knockout of the night in 11 of those fights. Does that, when you're leaving the ring, do you have a performance of the night or something like that? Does that cross your mind?
No, I mean, I just go in there and fight the way I fight. I'm fighting to win. I'm not fighting to win any bonuses, but I tend to be an action type of guy, and, my heart is on display every time I fight, and those kind of fights usually lead to fight of the night, or, I put on a good performance, I'm able to get a performance of the night.
Now, obviously, you fought in lightweight, you fought in featherweight. Usually when fighters get older, they tend to move up in weight. It becomes a little bit harder to, get the weight cuts down, but you made the opposite decision in moving down. That's a test of not only your veteran skills, but being a determined MMA fighter. But what made you decide, instead of sticking in lightweight or featherweight, to actually go after the bantamweight title and drop down to 135?
Yeah, well, when I first got in the UFC, 55 was the only division. It was the lightest division I could be in. So that kind of was more of just the only option. And then as 45 came around, I went down and 35 as well. If you look at my stature, I probably am a 35 pounder compared to everyone else. I'm probably not even the biggest guy at 35. So I think I naturally just started going to where I should have been probably my whole career. But I do like the fact that I got to compete in all 3 weight classes. I feel like I've had success in all 3 weight classes, and that's a testament to how I train and approach the sport.
They say over time, though, that your body gets accustomed to the weight cutting and starts to fight it a little bit. Are you finding that?
Not for me, no. Because I weight cut in high school and college, and then in MMA I didn't have to really weight cut at all. At 55, that's what I walked around at. At 45, it was very minimal to get down there. So this past couple camps, I've just been disciplined. Dieting has been sharp, and the weight cut was easy last time around, pretty much.
Now, you've been in some wars. I mean, when I think of your fights, I think of BJ Penn fights, obviously. I think of Uriah Faber. I even think of, lightweight title contender, possibly Charles Oliveira. When you look back at all of your fights, which one sticks out the most as your toughest fight? And you've got a lot of them. I mean, when I think of who's fought the best of the best, your name is at the top of that list. You've had so many fights, but who gave you that push, to continue to fight through the hard rounds?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been in there with a bunch of them. Obviously, those Maynard fights, being on the brink of getting knocked out in 2 of them was always something to come back. But the first Ben Henderson fight was definitely a battle. I felt that a lot afterwards. I guess that's a good tell and see how you feel afterwards. I guess that Ben Henderson fight was definitely a tough one, and even the Aldo fights, Holloway was a tough one. Anytime you don't get your hand raised, those are the ones that sting the most, to be honest with you.
Yeah, is there one fight out of those one loss you have? I'm sure you hate all of them, but one that you think you really should have had that fight and you could have done something a little different and you could have changed the outcome?
Something I could have done. I felt the second fight with Benson Henderson. I thought I won that pretty clear cut, but the judges had it another way. That was obviously a rematch, and the first fight was kind of close, I thought. So that stung a lot. And you definitely, when it was a split decision, so I guess you do look back and say, oh man, maybe I didn't, get swept or not or slipped or so, you always pick something you think you wish you could have done differently.
When I think of fighters that have fought the legends of the sport, obviously RDA comes to mind. Anthony Pettis, of course he's in a different organization now, but he's fought the best of the best. I think of you, too, as one of those like Mount Rushmore fighters that has literally fought the who's who in each division, whether it's lightweight, featherweight, and now coming to bantamweight. What do you think it's going to take for you to get your flowers? Like, I feel like when people think of the greatest of all time, they obviously talk about GSP and Anderson. So I put you right up in there in that list, and not just to kiss your ass because we're doing an interview together. I really do mean that. What do you think it's going to take? I mean, is it going to take getting that bantamweight title to be like, listen, I'm here now, respect me? I mean, you have such a lengthy career with so many legendary fights. Do you feel like people look down on you still, or do you think like, listen, I don't give a shit, I've done what I've needed to do?
Yeah, I always wanted to be considered the best. I always had big aspirations when I got into sport to be the Michael Jordan of it all, and that's really a tough task to accomplish, to be the GOAT, especially with how many good guys there are. And winning a title at 35 would maybe put me in a conversation, stuff like that. But I'm not too concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more just known for the toughness and the heart that I have is good enough for me.
Yeah, you've had belts and lots of success over time. Are you to the point in your career where you want one more run at the belt, or is it more important? Would you rather get like a super fight like a lot of guys are doing at the end of their career just to make a lot of money?
Money's always enticing, that's for sure. But
yeah.
I think as a competitor for myself, vying for that top spot is the most motivating thing I can do. And, you vie for that top spot, money will come.
Now, there's a big fighter making his return to the bantamweight division in 2021, and that is TJ Dillashaw. Obviously out for a little bit due to some steroids and, all the talks with that of him coming back. What are your thoughts on TJ coming back to the bantamweight division? And do you think, that he deserves an instant title shot, or do you think that he should work his way up like you have?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not up to me, man. The whole deserve thing, it doesn't even exist. People get what they get, and maybe his name will get it for him, or his manager, or just the scenario. Things happen the way they happen. I do think he needs to go in there and get a win over a top guy before he does get a title shot, but that's not up to me. I can't worry about those things. I just got to worry about winning my fight so I can make sure I'm in the picture for the title as well.
I mean, you're sitting at 4, so you're about to fight 2, so you get a chance to make a statement next, right? Yeah,
that's definitely the plan. I do think the winner of me and Corey definitely have a good shot at getting that next title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Corey actually recently came out and said, I'm not going to do the he said, she said, and, obviously you just talked about, deserving a shot, but he did come out and say recently in an interview that, he deserves a shot with a win over you. How do you take strong statements like that? I mean, obviously you guys are going to get in February 6th and handle your business. You're not really known as a big shit talker either, which I respect, because you've had the situation with McGregor to where that was a possibility of a fight, and now you've got a little bit of talk coming from your opponent known as Corey Sandhagen. What do you plan to do? Obviously, you plan to get the win on February 6th, but in what fashion? And does that talk motivate you in any way? Is it like, okay, you're saying you've got my number, let's make it happen February 6th? How do you handle those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a talking guy, I'd rather just go out there, there's no need to talk. We're going to fight. We could talk and we're still going to fight, or we can not talk, we're still going to fight. He wants to talk, go ahead. That's all good by me. We're going to figure it out in the cage. And, I believe in my skills. I believe in the type of fighter I am and what I've done in my career. I know what I possess and what I'm capable of.
Love that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, bringing up McGregor, he's got a big fight coming up, UFC 257, coming up next Saturday. What do you see happening in that fight? What is your prediction for that fight? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's the rematch. The first one ended, but it was so many years ago. Poirier's made drastic changes in not only his technique, but his skill set all around. How do you see that fight going?
Yeah, it's a lot of unknown just based on how the first one went. I do think Dustin's a much different fighter from them, obviously physically, mentally, and emotionally too. I think he kind of went into that last fight a little charged up and, wasn't very tactical. I think this time it's going to be different. But again, Conor got better too. He's not at 45, he's at 55. And, it's exciting. I think whenever Conor fights, it's always a big spectacle. I'm kind of buddies with Dustin. He's came out in Jersey, helped me train, a long time ago. And, I wish the best for him.
You think it matters that Conor hasn't been as active as him? Is that going to work to Dustin's favor?
I definitely think it could. Everyone takes time off differently. Some people it helps, some people it doesn't. I guess the only time will tell.
I appreciate your integrity when we're talking about McGregor, because you could have easily been like Jeremy Stevens or like, even Cowboy Cerrone or, and kind of talk that talk back to try and get that fight. And you never really did that. Is it, in your opinion, like you said, it's more easier just to get in there and fight and make it happen? Do you wish you could have done things differently to try and earn that fight, I guess, with, running your mouth like what McGregor does? Or were you not just going to play a hand in his game?
Yeah, I'm not that good at that stuff. I think people know the type of person I am. I start talking out the side of my mouth, I think they'll realize it's kind of suspect and a little made up. And, Conor's got the gift of gab, man. It's entertaining. It's funny at times.